Name's Brett. Welcome to Suburban Garage. Welcome to another episode of Suburban Garage. Episode 4, we're coming along pretty good. We made the seat last episode. I got that off to the upholster this week. We should have that back in a couple of days. I've had the tyres taken off the rims during the week, so we're good to go with that. In this episode we will take the discs off the front rim and the rear rim and clean those up and tape up the actual disc part, prep them for painting. Same with the rear wheel. We will put them in our new parts washing tub, as I'll show you in a minute, and we'll get that all cleaned up and we'll be good to go. We're coming along good. Okay, as I said, we've got the tyre off the rim, so we've got to get this off, this disc and this one on this side as well, and we've got our nice parts cleaning station that I've rigged up during the week. Got running water there, so we're good to go. This is just tank water, and we will be using degreaser and things like that, but this waste water here just runs straight out onto the dirt out the back, so we haven't got any of that going into the system. We've had to move our budget board. We've had to move the budget board over here, so Chad's taking care of the budget board now. We haven't purchased anything new during the week. As I said, we've got everything here. We're up to about $509 with everything, so we're looking pretty good. We've have to clean all this sort of stuff up. This is not the fun side of playing with motorcycles. There's always grease, there's always nasty stuff. I like to clean the discs and the rims with these steel wool pads. They already have the soap in them, and they're really cheap too, and they take all the flaky paint and all the grease off as well when we use the degreaser. This is just cheap degreaser from Super Cheap, so that all works well. So we'll get into it now and we'll get these discs off, get her in the parts tub. As I showed you before, we've got a nice deep parts tub, so we can get to everything and clean everything up. So let's get into these discs. We'll get them prepared. Okay, these things are notoriously hard to get off. This disc has probably been on here since the factory, 92. No one has probably ever taken this disc off. Now, these are on very, very tight. You'd be lucky to get it off just with your hand using the Allen key. So what you can do, which we'll get that in there, just take a ring spanner. It doesn't really matter what size. You can put it on the back like that, so you can get more leverage for it, because as I said, they are really, really hard to get off. And just by using your hand, you'll be lucky to get them off. Just a tip. Okay, we've got these discs sorted pretty good. The steel wool soap pads work really well to get all this 20 something years of garbage off these. This is the rear one. I'm quite happy with that, how it's come out. I'll clean it up a little bit more, but I'm just going to keep that silver because that'll go with a few other things that we've got going on that'll nice and silver. These front ones, they came up really well. We've got all the garbage off those, all the grease and everything. So I'm going to prep these for painting. We'll mask up the disc face here, and they make it pretty easy for me because what they do is they leave this little ring around here, which makes it even easier to cut the excess masking tape off and make it nice and neat. And this beveled edge, easy to run the blade along that, so we can paint that leading edge there as well. So that'll be nice, they'll come up really well. So we'll get into that and you'll see how that's done as well. Okay, we've got these discs sorted out. We've got this masking tape on the discs, so they're ready to go for painting. Both of these are ready to go. So we'll put these aside and we'll move on to the bracket for the rear brake master cylinder. Not the master cylinder, the reservoir. So we can get that underway as well. So as I said, we'll put these aside. They're ready for paint. We'll keep this nice and shiny for the rear disc. It looks pretty good and it'll be fitting with the bike. It'll look really good. Now for the rear brake reservoir, we're going to use one of these recycled metal brackets we spoke about in the first episode. From the internal structure of the boxes that off-road motorcycles come into the country with. So we're going to use those, and they make it pretty easy for me too, because as you can see, they're already flat. They've already flattened on this edge, and they've already got a hole drilled in them. So that'll be fitting for us. That's why I like them, because they already do some of the work for me, which is handy for me. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start this bracket. We've already got the hole here, which was for something for the airbox mount, I think it was. So that's the hole that we're going to use to hold the the reservoir up, probably about there. Even though the bike's on its stand at the moment, it's not going to be too critical because if it's not straight, we can move it like that at a later date. So, and this is what I meant before, how they've already got the squashed end for me and drilled, because it's perfect for what we need it for. So we'll have that about there, so that bracket will sit about there. So okay, we're ready to go with this. Earmuffs, safety glasses, grinder. We're just going to cut total length of this with the squashed end to 170 millimeters, and then I'm just going to cut that off there and squash it from about, heat it up and squash it from about 150. So here we go. The bracket for the reservoir, we've heated it up, we've drilled the hole in it at the end there, and I've also brazed the end of it, welded the end up too, so I've closed that up so no moisture will get in there and everything else. So that was our factory flat end, which already had the pre-drilled hole in it. That's the new end that we've made. So we've made that looking pretty good, so that'll be alright. Let's go ahead and fit this and make sure it fits properly. So I've just got a 10mm bolt with a 10mm nut here, so just get that on there. And an 8mm bolt, 8mm nut. And there you have it. One bracket recycled out of other parts. Sits pretty good. We'll paint that cap too black, so that'll be fine. So that's ready to paint. Easy. Okay, now that we've made that bracket for the rear reservoir, let's take this rear subframe off. I'll show you exactly where to cut that so we don't interrupt the structural integrity of the frame with the rear gusset brackets that hold it all together. So we're taking the rear subframe off, which we're making it a little bit stronger because we're getting rid of that pillion passenger, which is anywhere from 50 to 80 kilos off the back of the bike, which makes a big difference on the way that it's going to handle. So yeah, it's coming along, it's pretty good. Now where we're going to cut this subframe, we'll get rid of this little bracket here. This little bracket here was for the rear fairing that wrapped around. We'll cut that bracket off to make it a little bit easier for us. We've got two helmet holder hooks here. We've got one on this side and one on this side. We're going to cut those off as well in the process. But just stick next to this gusset bracket here, and we will keep away from the original factory welds, and we won't interrupt the integrity of the frame, because we're going to leave that gusset bracket that holds all this together and remove that weight from the back. And this back subframe's actually, it's got a bit of weight in it, so we'll lose the weight off the motorcycle, plus we'll lose the weight of a pillion passenger as well, so that'll be really good. So we'll go ahead now and we'll get the grinder out and we'll cut that off. Okay, we've got the subframe off. We can see that we've done that pretty nice and neat. We've still left the original brackets there away from the world, so everything's good structurally. We haven't interrupted that. There's another look at our nice bracket we made. Now we do have to clean a lot of parts in this swing arm here and around the back of the engine, so we can get the painting pretty quick. I'll do that during the week off camera, so we can have that prepared for next episode. But that's what it's like without the subframe on it. We've also cleaned up these bolt holes here with the grinder as well, just taking those burrs off. So they're looking good. The easiest way to clean that swing arm and everything that we've got here is with this wax and grease remover. We just get that from Super Cheap Auto, so that's pretty cheap too, and that does a marvellous job of getting rid of the grease and everything else, so we can prep it for painting. What we might do, since we've still got the grinder out, is get to these brackets for the front indicators. So I'll show you how we do that. Put a nice arc on that and we'll cut that out. Okay, I've just got this lid that's off another paint tin. I'm just going to put that there like that. About there like that. And just trace a nice curve on it like that. I'm going to do that on both sides. Then we'll go ahead and cut that out. Okay, now that we got the front blinker mounts sorted out and cut, trimmed, all we're going to do now is file those and they'll look pretty good. We've got to get these front forks off. The quicker we get these forks off, we'll get these painted with the wheels, the rims. The quicker we can get it back on its wheels and moving again. So let's get into that. We'll get these forks off. And that's how easy they come off. It's not hard. We'll get these into the tub and we'll get these rims done as well. We'll get these cleaned up exactly how we cleaned up the discs with the steel wool. I won't go into filming that at the moment. I'll get to that during the week, but we'll clean that exactly the same way. So next episode that we come to, which will be episode 5, we can start painting the discs, the rims, and these lower fork tubes, so we can get this back on the bike. And we'll paint these triple clamps while we're at it. We're not going to pull all this apart because I've had a pretty good look at it during the week. The bearings are fine. There's no crunching or anything like that, or no other movement in there whatsoever, so we'll just keep all that together. We'll tape up all the electrical stuff with masking tape, and the front brake lines, we'll mask those up too, and we'll clean these front calipers up, and we'll get those painted as well. So when we get into painting, we should get a fair bit done in one go, which will be good. They're looking good. Thanks for watching another episode of Suburban Garage. Every episode we're getting closer and closer to this motorcycle, which you see here, which rides really well. And all the stuff that we've done, we've taken a fair bit of weight off this bike, which makes it handle a little bit better and a little bit more manoeuvrability. Next episode we'll get to some painting. We want to paint the front and rear rims and the discs and the front fork legs. As I said, we'll get that in the tub during the week and clean that with the steel wool. And we'll get that nice and clean like the discs that I showed you. We're coming along pretty good. Next episode, episode 5, we're making progress, we're looking really good. And we're coming in on budget too, so with the purchase of the motorcycle, which was $1,500, and if we put another $1,000 into it to get it to this bike here, we'll have a really, really good looking motorcycle that it looks new. It's not new, but it looks new. And we'll have a really good bike on the road for about $2,500, which does turn heads and gets a lot of people talking when you're riding it around the place. And I'm really, really happy with it. It's really good on fuel. I couldn't ask for anything better for a motorcycle that we've put about that much money into it. So it's not a great deal of money. It's a good garage project, well worthwhile doing. And that'll about wrap up the episode. So thanks very much for watching, and we'll be back in episode 5. We do have our slideshow up on our channel, Suburban Garage, which we spoke about last week, which will go through all the internet purchases and the names of the suppliers and everything else. So they're all current prices, so that's actually up on our channel page at the moment. Thanks very much for watching Suburban Garage. I'll see you next episode. Thank you.